Two teams that are desperate for a win, and both for the same reason. It is simple: to stop the rot. Last season, these two sides defied expectations. This season, both have been hit by setbacks and both have come unstuck. However, Liverpool and Sheffield United are in very different positions. The Reds fighting to make the Champions League, the Blades battling to stay in the Premier League. It's a 7:15 kick-off this evening, and we have got all the build-up you need. Plus, we'll have live audio commentary of all the action at Bramall Lane on LFC TV and LFC TV Go. Yeah, hello and welcome to our social preview in association with our friends at Standard Chartered. Ronnie Whelan and Gary Gillespie are my guests. It has been a season of challenges for Liverpool. Another one thrown up tragically over the course of the last 7 days with news that Alisson Becker's father, Jose Agostinho Becker, sadly passed away this week at the age of just 57. It throws up another conundrum for the manager, another challenge for the manager. These are very difficult situations, Gary. From a player's point of view, how is it best to deal with it? Do you let the player decide if he wants to feature? Is it up to the manager? What's your experience of this kind of thing? Well,
I think it's down to the individual. I had something similar, actually. My dad, when I went to Celtic, my dad actually died suddenly with a heart attack. And it was a case that, like, I thought my dad would want me to play. So I did play. And I think that was possibly the best thing that I could have done for myself. But as I say, every individual is an individual. I know that Alisson Becker is deeply a religious kind of person. And I think the manager will ask him and go with whatever he says. And as I say, I think it is down to the individual. I hope he plays. I think his dad would have, like myself, would have wanted him to play.
How did you find the challenge of playing? Were you able to block it out? Did it come into your thoughts during the game? Or?
I think because you're that accustomed to the build-up, like a professional way and a professional setup and going about your business, you've done it. I mean, I was 31 at the time, so I'd been in the game a long time, and it's one of these things that I think the routine of getting prepared for a game probably helped us in many ways, and I think you just go and do about your business basically, and it gets put a little bit on the back burner, a little bit, if it can be put in the back burner at all. But then obviously once you finish the game, then that's the time but where it might hit you a little bit more. But no, I think from a personal point of view, I would like to play.
Of course, it goes without saying that the thoughts of everyone at LFC TV and Liverpool Football Club go out to the Becker family at this very difficult time. If he chooses not to play, I think every supporter would understand. If he doesn't, we presume that Kevin Kelleher comes in. Yeah. And we know now, Ronnie, he can step up to this stage. He's had a couple of Premier League appearances now, and amongst the 9 times he's pulled on the jersey.
Yeah, I think we all wondered, could Quevin be good enough to go in after Alisson? And the 2 games that he played, no problems whatsoever. So cool with the ball at his feet. It's very, very talkative. Crosses coming in. He's very, very sure of himself, and he's made some tremendous saves as well. So yeah, you wouldn't be frightened about him not playing. We do all hope Alisson Becker plays because he is our #1 goalkeeper, and we feel he is better than Quevin. Hopefully, Quevin one day will be the #1 goalkeeper, which would be great for Ireland as well. But yeah, it won't let us down.
I guess one of the challenges for the manager, take up the goalkeeping situation, that will kind of look after itself whichever way it goes. It's centre-half where he has the real concern, which I feel we've said that a few times this season. But the reality is now no Jordan Henderson for the next 9-10 weeks. He's had surgery. We put him to one side and we go down to what the cap off the rank is. What do you think he might be tempted to do today?
I think every time that I've seen that Phillips come into the side, he really hasn't let us down. It's whether he brings in Ben Davies as a rookie and plays him alongside what is basically another rookie in Quebec. So, you know what, we've got to the situation now where I think we've all been accustomed to it, and whoever plays has got to do a job, and I'm sure we'll be able to do that job. And as I say, I think we've just got used to the fact that that is a problem area for us at this moment in time. And as I say, everybody that's come in has done a reasonable job, but you just you do tend to feel that had we had that stable back 4 with the likes of Van Dijk and the likes of Joe Gomez, we possibly wouldn't have been in a position that we find ourselves in at this moment in time. It's a position that's been caused all sorts of problems all throughout the season. It's just another hurdle to get over and another problem to find a solution for. And whoever comes in, I think will have to do a job, and that's just been the way it has been all season so far.
Yeah, we cannot wait to get centre-backs back fit for next season. We don't have to talk about the problem. Well, let's rejig it then and talk about how we maybe solve it or protect that back line. Is it about rejigging midfield, perhaps? Do we look at how we set up there to offer protection for whoever lines up in that back position?
When things weren't going, well, since they started going badly for Liverpool, I've just watched games and I've thought, can you not just put 2 defensive midfielders in just to give them a little bit, the new centre-backs coming in, give them a little bit more protection, play a 4-2-3-1. But Wijnaldum for me and Thiago would be the 2 that would be sitting in front of the back 4, and they'd make sure that if teams do break on us, which teams are trying to do all the time, they let us attack and then come hit us. We will have 4 defenders and 2 defensive midfielders there, and for me it just gives a little bit more protection to the young kids coming in who don't really know. It must be very, very difficult for them coming in as well, the 2 young lads that have come in, Ben Davies and Kabak, how to learn which way Liverpool play, because we did before that play with a very high line with Gomez and Van Dijk. They were comfortable playing that way. But if you come into a team, which happened with a few players when they come in, when Suey was manager, they didn't know whether to drop off, but we were always playing push up, and when we turned around the midfield, somebody had dropped off. Now these kids have got to learn that, but learn it very, very quickly. They've only been here 2-3 weeks maybe, so there's a lot of coaching to be done for them. It's difficult for them to go straight into Liverpool's first team and do what Van Dijk and Gomez does.
Okay. Well, let's head over to Yorkshire now and to Rob Jones, who's down at Bramall Lane for LFC TV.
Yeah, good evening from a beautifully sunny Bramall Lane and a meeting of 2 teams who could be forgiven for yearning for the warm glow of last season. The champions 33 points worse off than at the same stage last year. 12 months ago, they were running away with the league. This time they're involved for a battle to reach the Champions League and finish in the top 4. As for Sheffield United, they've got 25 fewer points than they had at this stage of the campaign. They're bottom of the league, and after Newcastle's draw yesterday, now 15 points from safety. And the 2 managers will point to a huge injury list as one of the main reasons why they've dropped off so much from last season. And like Liverpool, Sheffield United have big problems at centre-half. 3 real mainstays in what was a rock-solid backline last season, all missing today in John Egan, Jack O'Connell and Chris Basham now, and the regular replacement as well in the former Liverpool defender Jack Robinson. So it means at the grand old age of 38, it's likely that Phil Jagielka will be part of the Blades' defence this evening. Sheffield United also missing Sander Berger in midfield, the man who scored from the penalty spot when these 2 teams met at Anfield earlier in the season. And the other big problem for Chris Wilder and his team has been scoring goals. David McGoldrick, their top scorer with 5, and Rhian Brewster still waiting for his first of the season since Sheffield United paid Liverpool more than £20 million for his services in the summer. I guess the other comparison that you could make is between the 2 managers. Chris Wilder, it looks increasingly likely that even though Sheffield United looks certain to be relegated, he may well keep his job and lead them into the Championship last season. That is something that Jurgen Klopp can identify from his time with Mainz.
I had a similar situation with Mainz years ago when we got relegated from the Bundesliga, and nobody had an idea. Nobody in the club had an idea to replace me. So they gave me the job to try it again. That's what I did. And I think that's not done and dusted yet, so nothing is decided. So Sheffield has still a chance, obviously, to stay in the league, but that they are not in doubt about Chris is obviously because of the quality Chris is delivering. And so that's... you tell me, is it normal? I don't know, but if you have a longer story together, I think it should be normal.
We'll always believe and we'll always be positive, and I'm a positive manager, as I've said, and we believe that we can win games of football, as I've talked about. We believe that we can win Sunday. Realistically, we've got to play extremely well and take those chances, as we've talked about, as we have done in our time in the Premier League, to get any sort of result, and we're going to have to do that regardless of what nonsense people will say about Liverpool or anything else. They've got an incredible talented group of players that whoever they put out, they've got an incredibly talented academy, whoever they draft in, and they'll cope with injuries in the best way possible for themselves.
Yeah, bottom of the table, as Rob said, 15 points adrift. They didn't win a game until January. Do you understand, Gary, why there hasn't been a clamour to get rid of him, why he still maintains the support of his bosses but also of supporters?
Well, I think he's always trying to bat against the wind, isn't he, a little bit? But the size of the squad, the amount of investment that's been put into the squad, I don't think has been fantastic. I think when you look at it, it's quite an unusual kind of setup at Sheffield United. I think there's only 2 classed as foreign players in the squad. I know there's a few Irish, which I'm classing as part of the home nations. But that's the way that they've gone down, and they've certainly, I think there's a bond together. I think the team works well for the manager, and I think he's got the faith of the owners. And I'd like to see him keep the job. I think he did a fantastic job last season. The one thing you would say, and it's very similar to this season, they can't score goals. They didn't score an awful lot of goals last season. What kept them in the league last season was like they were nicking victories and they were keeping clean sheets, and their defensive record was quite good. I think they've already conceded 2 more goals than what they did in the total last season. So that area of the pitch, obviously they've got the same problem that Liverpool have got at this moment in time with injuries to like the 3 main centre backs, and I think that was a big thing about the way that they kind of played last season. Maybe caught a little bit of teams a bit of surprise. But no, I think I would like to see him keep his job. I think they're down. I think they're doomed, to be quite honest. I can't see them turning it round. They've got too many points between them and Newcastle. But I would like to see. I think they can bounce back. I think we've seen that already. The teams that have been relegated from the Premier League into the Championship this season, I think Sheffield United are one of these teams that could do that as well.
Maybe something with Burnley before some Norwich, what they're going to do it this time round. You sometimes can bounce straight back. In terms of the drop-off, it is staggeringly similar to Liverpool. You go to this time last season, Liverpool were riding high, uncatchable at the top of the table. Sheffield United were 5th, and now very different situations both clubs find themselves in. It's curious how football can work sometimes, especially, I guess, for a promoted side. The second season, it's a bit of a cliche, but it can be a challenge.
It's very, very difficult for Sheffield. Gary mentioned finances and things like that. You know, to try and to cope with the big boys in the Premiership is very, very difficult for them. But it's funny the amount of injuries they've had, and the amount of injuries we've had, and what it's done to the effect it's had on what's happening on the football pitch. And people say you should be okay. You have the big squad. You've got, you should have reserves in place ready to come in. But it doesn't work like that, does it really? You will have reserves, but they won't be up to the standard you're expecting to bring onto the pitch if you've got 8 players out injured. So it's been a long season for both managers.
Sorry, Ronnie. I think another parallel could be like the crowd as well. I think they're fervent supporters over in Sheffield, just like they are at Liverpool as well. So that might have something to do with it.
I was also going to say that could have made it easier for Sheffield, the directors, and that to keep him, because if there's 25,000 baying for your manager to go week after week, sometimes the board have to step back and go, well, we may have to do this. I'm glad he's not gone, because I think he's a good manager. I think he'll probably take them up next season again, because I can't see them getting now a relegation. But it's probably made the choice a little bit easier for the directors with no crowds there.
Yeah, it's a challenge for them. It looks that way in the season ahead, generally speaking. Today, a challenge for them. Problems at centre-half, as Rob touched upon. Just to wrap up, something we could perhaps exploit. Jagielka's playing now. We didn't expect to see him again, 38 years old. Ethan Ampadu, who's very talented, but only 20 years of age, also been playing at times. There's potential there for Liverpool's forward players to make hay.
Well, there is. I think there's always potential for Liverpool's front three to cause havoc for most teams. I think when you look at the games we'll play against Sheffield United, and most games against Sheffield United, even this season, as opposed to last season, they only lose. I think it's 14 times they've only lost by the odd goal. So they're always in games, and we've found it difficult. I think last season was a prime example. We found it very difficult to get the result here. It was only a mistake, I think, from Henderson with a shot from Gini Wijnaldum that gave us the 3 points. So, as much as they're back to the wall, and Liverpool will maybe fancy the chances, it's proved a tough place to go, and Liverpool will have to be on their mettle to get a result.
It certainly will. Okay, gentlemen, thank you for your company for now. That's it for the moment. Join us once again on LFC TV for Matchday Live, which starts at 6:15 this evening. Gary, Ronnie and I will be there for that. And then Steve Hunt will be joined by John Aldridge for live audio commentary of all the action at 7:15. Thanks for watching.